So your next step is going to be to create the first draft of your story. Remember that we're really looking at the connection between people and settings. So you want to look back at my feedback on your character and your settings and think about, okay, how do those two go together? And especially look at that outline. So you should have already finished your setting sketch, your character sketch, and your outline. If there was any rewriting that you needed to do, make sure you do it. Then it's story time. So it's time for you to lay out the story. You're going to have a couple of options, and you'll also have to make a choice as to how much of your story you're going to tell. Because you've created an outline, it might have looked like a plot diagram, might have looked like this guided outline, but you might choose to tell the whole story. So for mine, I chose my whole outline is just like it takes place over a couple of minutes. It's just a walk from the dorms to the cafeteria. So it might be pretty short, and that's okay. You're only going to be writing about 2 pages. So you might choose to start your story, or you might choose to just kind of dive in the middle. You don't have to tell your whole story. I'm going to go over the requirements, and then that might make a little more sense. You'll see underneath on this Canvas page that you have 2 options. You can choose to type out a story, or you could make a graphic novel. We'll start by looking at the typed story. If you choose to just type out your story, you want to focus on this question: how do settings influence characters? Then use your narrative outline to guide your writing. Type this in Google Docs, title your document with your last name and narrative, and then make sure that your share settings are set up correctly. This should be double spaced, 11-point font. Put your name, the assignment title, the date in the upper left corner like we've been doing, center the title, and then your paragraph should be indented. You need to have dialogue, so make sure you've correctly formatted that, and if you don't know how, then go back and look in the module. And then make sure that everything is formatted correctly. It needs to be at least a page and a half long. I'll read up to 3 pages. So the beginning of it might look like this. You see, we have our name, the assignment, the date, title centered, indented, and then that dialogue is included there. So if that's what you want to do, to type the story. The other option for you is to do a graphic novel. Now, your graphic novel, you need to use your narrative outline. You need to create your own original drawings or use a drawing tool such as Canva or Book Creator. Don't just take pictures from online. Title your story with your last name and narrative and make sure it's shared correctly. And you still must have quite a bit of written text. You need to make sure you have a title that's centered, paragraphs are indented. You have to have dialogue. And I need to see that you know how to use quotation marks and tags. And you have to have at least 8 panels with both images and text. Now, I don't have student examples for this, but to get an idea of what I'm talking about as far as text, I want to see not just drawings and a couple of words here and there, but I want to see that you're using a lot of text throughout if you're choosing to do a graphic novel. So, like I said, you need to have at least 8 panels. It could go over a couple of pages. And I want you to make sure that you're telling your story and being creative. So, your next thing that you need to do is go back to that outline and think about, all right, now you know how long the story is going to be. Which part of your story should you tell? Because you don't have to tell the whole thing that you've outlined. You can take a chunk of it and take the chunk that shows that connection between the setting and the character. How does the character influence the setting, or how does the setting influence the character? And that's what you need to do.